Welcome back to the deep dive. We take fascinating topics, look at your source material, and really distill it down for you. And today, wow, we have a custom deep dive on something incredibly well known, historically really significant, the Rosary. Our goal here isn't just to talk about, the beads themselves. We want to get past that physical object.
Mhm.
We're going to try and uncover the core meaning, the surprising history, and really the context behind this
hmm
beloved Catholic practice.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the material immediately shows it's more complex than people might think.
Mm.
It's not just a prayer, it's really a discipline. You have the vocal prayers, sure,
Yeah.
but it's also this deep, structured meditation, thinking about key moments in the lives of Jesus and Mary.
A discipline. Okay.
And here's a great starting point, a lovely detail. The word rosary itself comes from Latin, means crown of roses.
A crown of roses. That's
Yeah.
that's beautiful. It sounds much richer than just, repeating prayers. Okay, so let's really unpack this. I want to start with the origins because the history here, it goes back way further than the beads we see today, right? Or even official church approval.
Oh, absolutely, way back. To understand the roots, you really have to look at early monastic life. Early Christians, monks especially, often prayed all 150 psalms.
All 150.
The whole book of Psalms. That was kind of the gold standard for devotion back then.
Wow, okay, that's a lot.
Exactly. And here's the crucial part for understanding how it evolved, the accessibility factor.
Mm.
Think about it, most people couldn't read back then. Literacy was rare. So praying 150 complex Psalms, just not feasible for the average person.
Impossible.
So they started substituting. People began praying 150 repetitions of prayers they did know by heart, simpler ones. First, it was often the Our Father, the 150 Our Fathers. Later, the Hail Mary became more central to this practice.
Ah, so it was like a workaround, a way for everyone, literate or not, to participate in that kind of large-scale devotion.
Precisely. It's actually a beautiful example of making deep spiritual practice accessible to all. A democratization of prayer, you could say, even if you couldn't read a word.
That completely reframes it for me. Not just rote repetition, but an adaptation, a way to connect using what was available, like spiritual technology for the masses.
That's a great way to put it. Now, if we fast forward a bit, centuries later, tradition connects the popular spread of this structured prayer to St. Dominic.
St. Dominic, okay, 13th century.
That's the one, the 13th century. Tradition holds he actively promoted this form of prayer, the Rosary, as a way to, well, combat heresy and bring people closer to Christ.
So he saw it as a tool, something actively useful for the church's mission at the time.
Yes, a spiritual tool. And then you mentioned a major historical moment.
Right, the sources point to a huge turning point in the 16th century, something about a battle.
The Battle of Lepanto, 1571, hugely significant. A major naval battle.
Okay.
It was the Holy League, a coalition of Catholic states against the Ottoman Empire. And the Holy League won a decisive victory.
And the connection to the Rosary.
Well, Pope Pius V had asked all of Europe to pray the Rosary for victory. And when they won, the victory was officially attributed to the power of praying the Rosary.
Wow, really? Directly attributed.
Directly. And that event gave the Rosary a massive boost. The Church began promoting it much more formally and globally after Lepanto. It cemented its importance.
Okay, hang on. That's quite a leap, isn't it? From personal meditative prayer, accessibility for the illiterate, to being credited with a military victory. How do the sources explain that shift? Seems like a stark contrast.
That's a really sharp observation. The sources suggest it wasn't seen as praying for violence itself. It was about praying for divine intercession.
Intercession, like asking God to step in.
Exactly. Asking God, through Mary's help, to intervene in this major crisis. So the Rosary was elevated. It wasn't just personal meditation anymore. It became seen as a form of collective spiritual action, even spiritual warfare in a sense. That's where you get that powerful phrase sometimes associated with it, the spiritual weapon against evil.
Ah, okay. So the weapon isn't literal violence. It's about invoking spiritual power against perceived threats, whether spiritual or, in that historical context, physical threats like the Ottoman expansion.
Precisely. It's viewed as a tool for defense, for seeking protection in times of great danger. That clarifies the shift, doesn't it?
It does, significantly. Okay, let's pivot then to the core purpose today. The materials are really clear on this. The Rosary is not just repeating words over and over. It's fundamentally about meditation. So what are people actually meditating on? What's the focus during those prayers?
That's the heart of it. They're meditating on the mysteries. These are specific key events from the life of Jesus and the life of his mother Mary. There are 20 mysteries in total, drawn straight from the Gospels and Christian tradition. The whole structure, moving through the beads, is designed to guide your mind through these events, like walking through the gospel story.
20 events. Okay, are they grouped somehow?
Yes. Traditionally, they were divided into 3 sets, following the natural arc of Jesus' life story. First, you have the joyful mysteries. These cover Jesus' birth and childhood, things like the Annunciation, the Nativity, finding him in the temple.
Okay, the beginning.
Then the sorrowful mysteries. These focus intensely on his suffering and death, the agony in the garden, the scourging, the crucifixion.
The difficult part of the story.
And third, the glorious mysteries. These celebrate the resurrection, the ascension, Pentecost, and Mary's assumption and coronation in heaven, the triumph and glory after the suffering.
Joyful, sorrowful, glorious. That covers incarnation, passion, resurrection. A pretty full picture. But wait, 3 sets. That sounds like 15 mysteries. If each has 5 events, you said 20.
Exactly. Good catch. For centuries, it was 15, but there was a major, quite recent addition mentioned in the sources.
Recent, for something this old.
Relatively speaking, yes. In 2002, Pope John Paul II introduced a whole new set, the Luminous Mysteries, or Mysteries of Light.
2002, wow. Why did a new set after all that time? What was missing?
Well, the thinking, as presented in the material, was that the existing mysteries covered the beginning, the infancy, and the end, the passion and glory. But what about Jesus's actual public ministry? His teachings, his miracles?
Ah, the main part of his adult work on Earth.
Exactly. So the luminous mysteries fill that gap. They focus on events like Jesus' baptism, the wedding at Cana where he performed his first miracle, the proclamation of the kingdom of God, the transfiguration, and the institution of the Eucharist at the Last Supper.
That makes a lot of sense. It rounds out the picture, makes the meditative journey through his life truly comprehensive.
It really does. It completes that walk through the Gospels.
So the overall goal is this kind of synthesis, using the rhythm of the prayers, the beads maybe, to keep you anchored while your mind is focused purely on contemplating these gospel stories.
That's it perfectly. The sources use a really nice phrase. It's like walking with Mary through the Gospel. The prayers are the rhythm, the beat, but the destination, the focus, is the life of Christ.
Okay, that clarifies the why and the what's. Now, for someone who's curious about actually doing it, the physical practice, the structure, the sources lay out a very clear sequence. It looks quite systematic. Could you walk us through the steps?
It is very systematic,
Right.
and that structure is important. You begin simply enough with the sign of the cross.
Standard opening for many Christian prayers.
Right, and that's immediately followed by reciting the Apostles' Creed.
Okay, the creed. Before we go further, why start with that? What's its function right at the beginning?
That's foundational. The Apostles' Creed is basically a summary of the core beliefs of Christianity. Saying it right at the start is like affirming your faith, laying the groundwork for everything that follows.
Got it. Setting the stage with fundamental beliefs, what comes after the creed?
After affirming the faith, you pray one Our Father.
Okay.
Then comes a really interesting part. You pray 3 Hail Marys, and then 1 Glory Be.
3 Hail Marys specifically. Is that just warming up, or is there a reason for the number 3 there?
Oh, it's very deliberate. Those 3 Hail Marys are specifically offered for an increase in the 3 theological virtues: faith, hope, and charity.
Ah, so you're praying for the virtues you'll need to actually engage deeply with the meditation that follows.
Exactly. You're preparing your heart and mind, asking for faith to believe, hope to trust, and charity or love to connect with God and the mysteries. It's a beautiful preparatory step.
That adds a whole layer of meaning. Okay, so creed, Our Father, 3 Hail Marys for virtues, glory be. What happens next? How do you get into the main cycle?
Now, you announce the first mystery for that particular day. So, for example, if it's a Monday, you'd say the first joyful mystery is the Annunciation.
Okay, you start the theme.
You say the theme, and that kicks off what's called a decade. This is the main repeating unit of the Rosary.
A decade, like 10.
Right. For that decade, you pray 1 Our Father, then 10 Hail Marys. And while you're saying those 10 Hail Marys, that's when you're meditating on the mystery you just announced, the Annunciation, in our example.
So the 10 Hail Marys provide the rhythm for the meditation on that specific event.
Precisely. It anchors the mind. After the 10 Hail Marys, you conclude the decade with 1 Glory Be. And often people will add another short prayer right after the Glory Be before starting the next decade. It's commonly known as the Fatima prayer.
The Fatima prayer. What's the focus of that one, briefly?
It's essentially a plea for mercy, asking God to forgive sins, lead all souls to heaven, especially those most in need of mercy. It brings the focus back to salvation, the ultimate goal.
Okay, so 1 decade is announce mystery, 1 Our Father, 10 Hail Marys while meditating, 1 Glory Be, often the Fatima prayer.
You've got it. And then you just repeat that whole cycle for the second, third, fourth, and fifth mysteries assigned to that day, announce the next mystery, do the decade, and so on.
5 decades in total, covering the 5 mysteries for the day.
Correct. And once you've completed all 5 decades, you conclude the entire rosary. Typically, this involves praying the Hail, Holy Queen.
The Hail Holy Queen sounds like a significant closing prayer focused on Mary.
It is. It's a very old, very beloved Marian hymn or anthem. It asks for her continued protection and guidance. It beautifully wraps up the whole meditative journey by turning back to her, who you've figuratively been walking with.
Okay. And maybe a final closing prayer after that.
Yes, usually a specific concluding prayer, often asking God to grant the petitions made through the rosary.
Wow. That is incredibly structured. From the opening creed to the final Hail Holy Queen.
It is. And that structure isn't accidental. It's designed to guide the mind and heart through the whole process.
And you mentioned mysteries assigned to the day. So this whole process, this structure, it fits into a weekly schedule.
It does. There's a traditional rotation to ensure you engage with all 20 mysteries over the course of the week. It provides rhythm and comprehensive coverage.
What does that rotation look like?
Generally, the joyful mysteries are prayed on Mondays and Saturdays. The sorrowful mysteries get Tuesdays and Fridays, days often associated with penance. The glorious mysteries are for Wednesdays and Sundays, the day of resurrection. And that newer set, the luminous mysteries, they fall on Thursdays.
Monday, Saturday, joyful. Tuesday, Friday, sorrowful. Wednesday, Sunday, glorious. Thursday, luminous. Got it. A very deliberate cycle.
Very deliberate. It helps embed the practice into the week and ensures a regular return to the full scope of the gospel narrative.
So we've covered the history, the structure, the meditative core. Let's talk about the so what. For the person actually praying the rosary regularly, what does this all mean? Why has this specific practice endured so powerfully for centuries? What are the benefits highlighted in the material?
The sources synthesize several key benefits, and they really connect the internal spiritual experience with, well, practical effects. First and foremost, obviously, it's about deepening one's relationship with God. That focused meditation on the life of Christ is central.
Makes sense.
But beyond that, it's repeatedly described as bringing peace, a genuine sense of peace to the heart and the mind.
Peace. I want to pause on that for a second. How does the structure, the repetition, actually help achieve that peace? Is it psychological as well as spiritual?
I think that's a great point. The structure and rhythm are key here. The repetition of familiar prayers, like the Hail Mary, combined with the physical sensation of moving the beads through your fingers.
Right, the tactile element.
Yes, that tactile engagement acts almost like an anchor. It's very grounding. Think about how, rhythmic activities like knitting or even paced breathing can calm anxiety. The rosary provides a kind of spiritual metronome. It helps quiet the mental noise, stops the mind from racing off in a million directions, while keeping the focus locked on these profound, generally positive, scriptural events.
It's like a focusing mechanism built into the prayer itself.
Exactly. So there's a clear path to that inner peace.
So where?
But the benefits go further. The sources emphasize its role as a powerful prayer of petition, not just for your own personal needs, though that's included, but praying for your family, your community, for peace in the world. It's very encompassing.
So it's both internal reflection and outward intercession.
Correct. And naturally, it strengthens devotion to Mary, seeing her as a guide and intercessor, and through her, it deepens faith in Christ. It's described as a really holistic spiritual practice.
Holistic, I like that. We've covered so much ground here. We started with that lovely image, the crown of roses. We looked at the ancient roots, substituting for the 150 Psalms, making it accessible.
Right. The democratization aspect.
Then the historical boosts, St. Dominic promoting it, the huge impact of the Battle of Lepanto, linking it to divine intercession.
And how that led to it being seen sometimes as that spiritual weapon.
Yeah. And then the core being meditation on the mysteries. Joyful, sorrowful, glorious, and crucially the luminous, added by John Paul II in 2002.
Covering the whole life of Christ.
We walk through the actual steps, the creed, the Our Father, those 3 Hail Marys for faith, hope, and charity.
The decades, meditating on the mysteries, the Hail Holy Queen, the whole structured flow.
And the weekly cycle ensuring breath. It's really quite something when you lay it all out.
It really is. The structure supports the deep meditative purpose.
Okay, so here's our final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. We've seen this practice evolve, haven't we? From a simple substitute for reading into this incredibly detailed, historically weighty devotion. It's linked to major world events, popes have added to it. It's seen as this powerful force, even a spiritual weapon. So consider this. What is the enduring power of simple, physical, rhythmic practices? Think about the Rosary, yes, but maybe also secular things, like someone who runs the same route every day, feeling that rhythm, or knitting that repetitive motion.
Or chanting, or mantra repetition in other traditions.
Exactly. How do these simple, structured, rhythmic activities, spiritual or not, help us focus a scattered mind? How do they help organize our thoughts, maybe even our emotions? And ultimately, how do they bring this sustained sense of stability, maybe even peace or a feeling of control, especially when the world around us feels, pretty tumultuous? Something to think about.